Good morning. I'm Michael Dunsworth, and this is my partner, Carly Thomas, and I just want to say it's such an honor to be sharing our reflections with you today.
I want to start off by saying that if you told me 5 years ago that I would be speaking at a church today, I probably would not have believed you.
We started coming to UUCA in 2024 after a series of life events led us to wanting more of a sense of meaning and community in our lives.
I was familiar with UU after driving past another location years ago and looking it up online afterwards. I've always been fascinated but highly skeptical of religion, and I remember thinking if I ever did go to a church, this would be the one.
Yeah. Carly initially attended a couple of online services and then told me, I think I finally found a church that both of us will agree on. I'd always been drawn to the ceremony of the Catholic Church, but was never aligned with their moral or social stance.
Michael attended one online service and immediately said, "Let's go next weekend."
Now, while I don't remember the exact details of the first sermon, sorry, Reverend John, what I do remember is being greeted at the door with open arms by Laura. Laura specifically is a huge reason why we felt welcome from day one and why we have continued to grow and love UUCA.
Now, I've heard that UU is the PBS of churches, and I think that's probably an understatement. One of the things that we enjoy most about UUCA in particular is that we learn something every single week. In these incredibly trying political times, being a part of a congregation that elevates your thinking by challenging assumptions and piques your curiosity instead of stifling it is nothing short of a lifeline.
So the first week that we attended, and I hesitated with this, but I kid you not, Justin did not have any shoes on, and that might be where we really knew this is the spot for us. We're in the right place. If our pianist is not wearing shoes, we're home. So his incredible music and energy is one of the many things that keep us coming back every week.
We became members in October of 2025. We originally wanted to do so the summer before that, but Reverend John was on bereavement, so we waited until his return. He has been so influential in our decision to become members. It was really important for us for him to be a part of that day.
In fact, when we really began to feel at home with UUCA was after attending the famous Shrink Family Holiday Party in late 2024. We got to spend time with Reverend John off the clock, and we got to meet some of our first friends in the congregation.
Many churches claim that all are welcome, but are lacking representation in their leadership, programming, and principles. Not UUCA. This church truly lives by the statement, "We love you, not in spite of your differences, but because of them." Thank you.
I just need to look at my community. And you think I have this phone so that I can read what I'm here to say? I have this phone here so that I can take a picture of my community. Thank you. You know, I tell people this story, but it's been 10 years that my dear brother-in-law, who we lost a few years ago, said, "You need to go to UUCA. You and Dale need to know UUCA. These are your people." And so one Sunday we came and we sat right over there, and I don't think Reverend Fred is in the house. I think he was speaking that day, and I sat there and I wept. Not because of the words that Reverend Fred had to say, I'm afraid, because I don't remember them, but because I had found my home. I found a place where people touched my heart and where I knew I belonged. And so I sat there and I wept. And my husband kept saying, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" It's because I found my folks. And I just am so thankful. I have been here now for 10 years. I've served on the board. I've served as president of the board. I've been in many different volunteer positions. You see me from time to time as a worship lay leader. And I love all these tasks. These are all important to what I do. But the most important part of what I do and who I am here in this congregation is I am a member of this community. These are my people. And you have been with me through good times, and you have been with me through some tough times. One member of the congregation, when I had had surgery for a brain tumor, said, "I'll come out and we'll do yoga." And I thought, I don't think yoga is really good when you've just had a brain surgery. And I'm not sure about that. But she came, and I prepared space for us to work, do yoga. And she said, "Oh, no. I want you to lay on your bed. We're going to do yoga nidra. And you're going to just, if you fall asleep, we'll let ourselves out." And they came several times. And I live far away. They came several times to help me relax into my new self. That's a huge, huge piece, because these are my people. This is where I belong. And for the rest of my life, I will be here as a part of you, as a part of this community. So let me just take that picture again. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lex Robertson. I'll keep my remarks on the short side so that you'll have plenty of time to get to the wrestling match. Hey, this is a great crowd. My Unitarian Universalist story goes back to the 60s when I first became aware of a place called All Souls Unitarian Church in Washington. This was because at the University of Maryland, where I was a student, I would see posters or flyers everywhere for organizing events and against the war, for civil rights, and I thought, this must be an okay place. But having rejected my native religion and being between 18 and 21, I never acted on that. Another influence was a family with whom I became very close, and both of the parents of my friends were Unitarians and attended the church in Reston. When I attended their funerals, I got a taste of what it was like when someone got to know someone very deeply. Shortly thereafter, I was walking in my neighborhood, and I ran into one of my neighbors who said she had to get on her way to church, and I asked her where she went. She said the Unitarian Church in Annapolis. I went with her the following week and never turned back. What brought me in was Reverend Fred. What kept me in was getting involved. One of the earliest things I started doing was the anti-racism work here, because I consider racism the scourge and paradox of our democracy. I was part of Journey Toward Wholeness, the ARTT, the Anti-Racism Transformation Team, and the BBC. The other thing that really was one of the most meaningful experiences, endeavors of my time here was participating in teaching OWL our whole lives. I can't say how valuable a program that is, and I still get feedback from parents who tell me that their kids really got so much out of it. And as some people have alluded to today, we have had our problems over the years, and for a few years I lapsed. I won't go into any details, but I will say I know where some of the bodies are buried. So, I came back to church on November 12th, 2016. That was the Sunday after the election. And Evelyn Spurgeon said, "We wondered who'd we see today." Since then, I was really surprised to see my name splashed up there a couple of times. But what I've really gotten the most out of was the spiritual development programs. I am a member of a small group ministry. I have done Soul of Aging and, the Wednesday spiritual poetry group. And I have to say, it's the deep friendships. I'm so grateful, but mostly I treasure a place, our church, our beloved community, where love is at the center of it all. Thank you.
I like to think of it as my first half century, or my first, yeah. When we moved to Annapolis in November of 1975 with a 3-day-old infant and a 2.5-year-old toddler, we were looking to settle in. And that included, among other things, finding a church to attend. We tried a church near us, but while the people were lovely, it wasn't quite the theological fit that we were looking for. Pat had visited the Unitarian Church at River Road and had liked it. So when a colleague of his at work mentioned that there was a Unitarian church in Annapolis, we decided to give it a go. Coming here was a game changer for me. Instead of being told what to believe, my own ideas were accepted, and I was encouraged to build and develop a spirituality that worked for me. This was a place we could bring our children and know that they would grow up surrounded by people whose ethical choices were similar to ours, even if beliefs differed widely. The congregation then was smaller and very close-knit, as they had experienced and survived the arson that severely damaged this building. At that time, church communication was by a newsletter that a small, devoted group made. I think it was mimeographed, if I'm not sure, but that's probably it, and mailed out periodically. It was folded in half, stapled together, and the addresses were printed on the outside sheet. Often, that sheet had a brownish rough edge, and I wondered about it. Was it in remembrance of the fire? Had somebody created it? And if so, how? So I asked one of the women who did the newsletter. No, she laughed. That paper was salvaged from the mess the fire left, and we were not about to throw it out. Ecologically sound and frugal, my kind of people. My own science-y brain does not find the idea of an anthropomorphic grandfather up in the sky, idea of a deity, possible. Yet, when I led a class called Cakes for the Queen of Heaven, which refers to the many ancient religions whose idea of deity also included goddesses, I found myself in a place where, yes, An anthropomorphic goddess is still anthropomorphic, but oh, the validation of singing a song ending in, "May God hold you in the palm of her hand," was real and empowering. I stay here because I learned stuff, because they let me sing in public, because I'm challenged to think and engage, because coming here is a booster shot for being a decent person. Because it is home. And when Pat died very suddenly last fall, you celebrated his kind and principled life with me and my family, and have stood by me in so many ways as I work through the enormity of that loss. And I am so grateful. Blessed be.